Spent time at NASA back in the day. While I was at UCSD, I interned for Private Blockchain, Fabrics.io, which was the first DeFi API aggregator, and then most recently Consensus Health, which is a company working at the intersection of blockchain and healthcare. I really wish there was a blockchain club on campus, so it's super excited to see this year, so I would love to integrate with more people in this space. And then I also go to hackathons and recently placed at ETH Bogota. And part of ETH SD, like what we want to do is get more students at hackathons and just getting people involved in hackathons in general, because I think it's the best way to learn. And so, super exciting. We're turning 1 year old this month. Over the last year in San Diego, we've thrown 21 in-person events. We've grown the community from 0 to 350 plus members. We opened up a central location called the Clubhouse, where we facilitate learnings, events, and a bunch of other cool things. And then we threw a hacker house with Chainlink, which was an 8-hour-long event. We rented a cool venue, we had music, we had bounties. It was a really good time. We're going to do more of those. And so just to show like our progress, event 2 looked like this. Event 21, which was our last event, looked like this. So we're hoping just to continue to grow, continue to build community, and empower San Diego. And then with that said, I want to welcome Barry to talk about foam, which is the topic of tonight. So if we can give a round of applause to Barry, we'll be kicking off. Can we do this smoothly? And then big shout out to Foam for sponsoring this event with pizza. We've got some merch, and then we've got bounties, right? We've got foam tokens to give out to everyone.
We got foam tokens to give away.
Yeah,
very exciting. So tonight we're presenting on the Foam Trust Zone program. That's kind of what I'm hoping to get as many of y'all involved in as possible. Basically, Foam is a project that's been around for a little while. It's kind of exciting because it implements a lot of like kind of physical things that where normally blockchain is more totally virtual. And the physical part is just nodes that broadcast to the surrounding area and hopefully provide some sort of location proofs on chain. For the presentation tonight, I just want to encourage you all to, if you like have a question or have any sort of things that you're like, whoa, that's cool, or whatever, please just speak up and ask questions, interrogate me, etc. So the agenda, who am I? I'm Barry, but we'll get more into that. What is Foam? What is the problem that Foam solves? How does Foam solve it? What is the Trust Zone program? The Trust Zone program, brief summary, it's like a very early beta test program for Foam zones. And hopefully the idea is that we're going to get San Diego a trust zone. We're signed up for the early trust zone program. That's all this hardware I have over here is we're getting ready to build the nodes. There's 4 nodes in the zone, and so I've got the hardware to build it.
So are you giving us that, or are we buying them?
Well, if you join the DAO, and there's going to be a DAO, we've already kind of created a DAO. There's a multi-sig wallet. And so the hardware belongs to the DAO. So if you join the DAO, then yes, you will be a partial owner in the DAO and the hardware.
Fair enough.
Cool. How can you get involved? We'll talk about that. How to get involved in the DAO. We've got Foam tokens for everyone tonight, and we'll get you all looped into D-Work, which is like an awesome platform that we're going to be collaborating through for the Trust Zone program. And what's in it for you? Absolutely, if you get signed up tonight, you'll get some Foam tokens. And I think there's a lot of potential for a lot of exciting stuff down the pipe with this. So to start with, we're going to talk about who I am. I'm a mechanical engineer from the University of Wyoming. I got involved early in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I was
I think my real first foray was to start mining. I bought a GPU rig off of eBay and started mining Litecoin. I actually don't like Litecoin much, but it was the best thing to mine on the GPU. I flipped that into an early, like, I think it was a 20 nanometer ASIC or whatever, whatever the measurement is, and managed to make some money on that, just almost pure luck, because a lot of the hardware vendors at that, it was like a total arms race, and a lot of hardware vendors didn't send out hardware on time, but my vendor, TeraHash, I think was the name of it, they delivered. And then I invested in Ethereum ICO. Shortly after that, I ended up going to a software boot camp in San Francisco, and that's kind of where I got some good like software skills. It was a like a web boot camp. They like got me up to speed on a lot of stuff I didn't know. Mechanical engineer, we actually did a cool mechatronics project at senior design, so I had some software stuff, but really got a lot deeper and a lot more practical skills, software skills there. I moved to San Diego after that, got a job working for a local company, and during that time I took over blockchain at Bruce. Somebody else was running it, and they posted, hey, like, does anybody else want to take it over? I took it over. A good buddy of mine kind of helped organize most of it, actually. And we kind of really focused on like workshop-based meetups. So we were always focused on like having some sort of like, get your computer out, let's do something sort of meetups. My buddy moved away, and I haven't been as good at organizing, so there hasn't been much happening with blockchain and Bruce meetup since then. And to be honest, I haven't felt very motivated to do it because ETH SD is like, I don't like, it's more exciting just to do stuff with ETH SD and not like try to organize a separate meetup. So currently, what am I working on? Foam is a big piece of what I'm working on. I've been interested in foam for several years. I forget how I originally learned about it, but I think the value play is huge here, and I'll explain that here in a bit. But I'm also starting with a few partners, a wireless ISP in Yucca Valley. Yucca Valley is like right next to Joshua Tree in the high desert. We're like looking to get start out with just a couple hundred customers, but kind of the original interest there came from, I'm really interested in this decentralized wireless space. I think there's this is like the next big thing in crypto. And I kind of got the original bug to start a WISP when I was like researching all this decentralized wireless stuff, and Althea came up. I don't know if you all have heard about Althea, but they're kind of focused on like how can basically anybody sell any sort of internet connection. They're more interested in like selling basically Wi-Fi or just like unopinionated protocol for selling internet to anyone, is kind of what Althea is. But kind of the idea for the WISP is wireless ISP. Kind of the idea there is just having a platform that I can deploy these cool tech things that I'm actually interested in. But we just broke ground on that a few weeks ago, and hopefully have that up and running with customers by the end of the year. I got deep into the helium thing, the helium crate, recent helium craze. Actually originally learned about helium. I guess for those of you that don't know, helium's kind of like a IoT wireless network. How many of y'all have heard of helium? So most of y'all kind of know what helium is. It's like a wave, it operates on LoRa, which is like a wireless spectrum, 950 megahertz, 915 megahertz, that is open to anyone to use, and so they're using it to sell IoT sort of bandwidth. And it's very low bandwidth, so it's only good for IoT sort of applications. But they have a pretty good network deployed. Haven't seen a whole lot of use for it yet, but yeah, so got involved in helium. Still running a bunch of nodes for that. And just kind of a side thing, I'm like really into DAppNode. I don't know how many of y'all know about DAppNode, but it's like a really cool, quick and easy way to spin up a Ethereum node and then Like they run a dApp store that's registered on the Ethereum blockchain, really easy to add other blockchains, Helium, Bitcoin, Avalanche. I run a Gnosis validator on there. It's super fun, super nerdy. I sink a lot of time into keeping that thing running. I run my own RPC on there, my own Ethereum RPC on there, a full Aragon node. But on to foam. This is just a cool slide. I don't really know what the point of it is. Verified location service anywhere. So the idea of foam is you should be able to prove that you were somewhere that you said you were. And one of the really interesting parts about this is that this doesn't exist in Web 2. Foam is really making a jump from something that it kind of exists in Web 2, but really it's something that only exists for the government. So like the government uses cell towers to keep track of you. Like the military has access to the GPS satellites. Like they can talk to the GPS satellites, but for all of us consumers, like consumer grade stuff, we only passively use GPS services. We can't talk to the satellites. We only listen to the satellites. So GPS, technological breakthrough, everybody knows what GPS is. Current data is unreliable and cannot be authenticated. It's not too unreliable. It's like, most of the time GPS works, right? Most of us haven't run into problems there, but if you're like, we've got some headlines in here, and if you're tuned into this community, like it's not unusual for GPS signals to get spoofed or to just go offline. It's a major attack vector for our nation and for security. But it's super illegal to attack it, and that's why it doesn't happen. But it kind of like keeps the security vulnerability from really getting like exposed, like it probably needs, it's a problem that needs to be solved. Only certain objects can be located. Power band only fits devices with large batteries. So one of the things with GPS that you might not think about too much is that client side is super intensive. It requires a big battery. You got to do a lot of talking to satellites or listening to satellites and then computing your location. Foam as a solution pushes that more to these nodes. So it's like you could have a really low power device that could get a location proof. Location without data has limited no value. One of the really cool things about foam that nobody's really talking about that I think is exciting is, I'm sure you all have been following all like the AI improvements the last 6 months. It's like we're seeing some deep fakes that are like really sick, but also kind of scary. One of the potential applications of foam is that you could, when you take a picture or create any sort of a media, you could create a location proof for when and where that was located, or when and where that was created. You could hash whatever the media was and throw that in on the location proof. And then if anybody down the line had any questions about whether or not that was real or whether that was created when it was created or whatever, then you could go back and expose that proof and show to anybody that this media was created when it was said it was created and where it was said it was created, which I think has pretty huge application. And we haven't really seen the deep fakes get crazy enough yet that that's become an issue, but I think in the last 6 months we've kind of seen how bad that could get. Like just wondering what's real and what's not, you know, when we see media. The full automated future has not been realized due to limits to GPS. Another thing like that here is like, okay, so you check in on Yelp, check in on any of your apps, check-ins are a thing. They're not very valuable. You got Pokemon Go, everybody probably plays that. Some people play it, I was into it. I'll admit it, I was into Pokemon Go. But spoofing has been a huge problem in Pokemon Go. And the reason spoofing is a problem is because there's real value behind your check-ins, your physical, real-world check-ins. And the more you push the value of real-world check-ins in, the more spoofing and cheating on it becomes an issue. And we don't have a solid technical solution built yet for that problem. What's up?
As a former spoofer.
You know, yes.
He's confessing. I don't know how I feel about this.
So I'm curious, like at what level are you spoofing? So you can spoof kind of, you can, for GPS you can spoof, you can spoof the signal. You can spoof kind of at the software level, and you can kind of spoof at the hardware level by intercepting there. Like, how are you doing it?
I was just using this was like a couple years back, but
Yeah.
I would just use like a cheap Android, and that's like never been updated.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? and then basically on that go into developer mode, and then turn off the GPS.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then use whatever's available, whether it's on the black market or not.
I love it.
And then just go from there, and then just go to San Francisco.
Exactly. Go wherever you want. Go where the good Pokemon.
Exactly.
I mean, why not? So I think we haven't really seen the world that would be created if we had like provable check-ins, like check-ins that weren't spoofable, because as soon as those check-ins get valuable, they start getting spoofed and cheated. Like just any sort of check-in really. And I think one of the exciting things about this is for identity in the decentralized world, it's going to be really huge to be able to prove you were where you said you were. Like I was at this meetup, and anybody else that was at this meetup could have a proof that was the same. Like I think that's really exciting. I think that's something that is going to be big. This is the problem. I kind of explained this. You got all the GPS spoofing. I think a lot of these are kind of more on the level of like nation state attacks. You got the one nation attract thing. One of the things that kind of the way foam is designed is that you kind of are in control of these proofs, not somebody else. They're owned by you. More on the problem here. $1 billion a day. How much would GPS outage cost? One of the interesting things people don't know about GPS is that it's used very heavily for time. It's not just location. It's very important for time because it's one of the most precise time signals that you can get. It's used heavily within a communications infrastructure. So like cell phone towers, they actually switch on and off. So they take turns broadcasting on the like microsecond, I don't know what kind of like super crazy down to the precision sort of a thing, but they'll take turns broadcasting so they don't interfere with each other.
Oh, yeah.
So like 1 microsecond this tower, 1 microsecond this tower, and they're like switching on and off who's broadcasting at any moment in time. If you had any serious GPS interference or spoofing, then you could seriously interfere with our communications infrastructure because those cell towers would start freaking out. Vulnerable, easy to disrupt. These solutions exist to provide location service, very limited. Actually, so a lot of these slides were created by Ryan from Foam Space, the founder of Foam, and I actually don't know specifically what those are. I know that like the military has GPS sort of things where they can talk to the GPS satellites. I don't know what other solutions exist on the, for the consumer that allow you to precisely figure out location like this. So the solution, phone, location, radio agnostic location service that provides secure, fault-tolerant, ubiquitous location information, independent GPS. So it says radio agnostic, and I guess maybe the idea is that this protocol is not tied to LoRaWAN. That's what these nodes will be using. I guess maybe that this could be used with other types of radio. I'm assuming that's what that means. Fault tolerant, self-synchronizing, you got like no central point of failure. So you can see on this they got like four nodes on there. That's the minimum amount of nodes you have to have in this network to triangulate someone within it. They all have to have line of sight of each other. It will be on blockchain, this trust zone that we will be creating. It won't be on blockchain initially. Like I said earlier, they're kind of solving two problems. They gotta like figure out the problem of just figuring triangulation between 4 nodes. They have to be communicating with each other and sharing how far away a device is within their area. And so nailing that down is kind of the first step. And they have a trust trust zone that they've created. We've got some pictures of that in Boston or Brooklyn. That is doing that now, and like this trust zone program will kind of be a second step in that. But the step after that, after this initial, like get these nodes up and get them communicating, is to move the proofs onto the blockchain, and then be able to do these presence claims where a device would be like, hey, I want you to remember this, please annotate it on the blockchain. Why now? Everybody knows all this stuff is getting very exciting. Ethereum blockchain counts going up, 5G network growth, and for those of you that aren't familiar, like Helium, which started out with just doing LoRa, this IoT network, they're now rolling into 5G, where where anybody can kind of run small 5G cell and sell to customers. LP WAN, that's this LoRa style network, and private networks. Not really sure what that means. So the full stack, you got software, blockchain, hardware, radio. Nothing too surprising there. These nodes will, of course, need some sort of like internet backhaul. We have 4G like hotspots for them. If we don't have some sort of wireless Wi-Fi or Ethernet to connect them to on whatever locations we run them. The hardware has FPGAs. So one of the cool things about the phone network is that they've really worked hard on making this something that is permissionless and that anybody can spin up the hardware to run. The FPGA is kind of the only thing that's not like anybody can flash an FPGA and make this hardware, and they've got it open sourced. It's just a difficult thing to do. That would be the foam hack on the board that we've got over here.
What's an FPGA?
A field programmable gate array. So if you're familiar with, like I was talking about the mining thing earlier, kind of the progression of cryptocurrency mining started out with CPUs. You mine Bitcoin on a CPU, and then as people specialized, as things got more competitive, people were like, let's parallelize this and run it on a GPU, and so then it moves from a CPU to a GPU, and this has happened on most blockchains and hashing algorithms. And then after GPUs and things get competitive in GPUs enough, they're like, okay, let's take this next level, and kind of most people know about ASICs, application-specific integrated chip, I think is what that stands for. It's like, it's a chip that does nothing but like hash Bitcoin or hash whatever you're hashing. Well, an FPGA is kind of a step between there. It's a chip that you can program to do one specific task. You can flash it to do a different task, but it's relatively efficient at doing one specific task. Not quite as good as an ASIC, I guess. So that's what these do. I think, I'm not like super confident about this, but I think the reason they have an FPGA in here is that these time proofs are super dependent on time, and being able to calculate them super fast is very essential to getting a good location fix. They've got all these cool tools. They've got these radio gateways. That's what we'll be building. They've got the dashboard kind of foreseeing what your nodes are doing. And eventually this will be an incentivized network. Right now they're getting all their beta stuff figured out. One of the exciting things about this is that when we get it up and running, we will be like the first ones to start mining when they go live on blockchain. So we'll be like well, not the first ones. There's I think like 5 or 10 trust zone programs in the US, but we'll be one of the first.
We're the first one there. San Diego.
Yeah, rock and roll. This is like an early prototype one. We probably won't have like a clear box like that. We've got on order some like opaque kind of style. They look like cable boxes or whatever. But this is open source compute. They want to make sure that this stays. So something like, many of you are probably familiar with Helium. And a big problem in the Helium network, so I guess for those of you that aren't familiar with Helium, IoT network, you run it on this open 950 megahertz band, and anybody that's got an IoT device can spend a little bit of Helium token and use the network. One of the big problems they've had is like, they have these proof of coverage rewards, which is like, I'm providing coverage in this area, and you get rewards for providing coverage in that area. So there's rewards for actually relaying data and then also providing coverage in an area. But they have a big problem with people lying about where they're providing coverage. Because if you're providing coverage in an area that a lot of other people are providing coverage, it like downscales your rewards. If you're providing coverage in an area where there's not people providing coverage, then you make a lot more rewards. People lie that they're in the middle of nowhere, and then they'll run like a little, they'll basically spoof the signal going into the LoRa antenna and say like that they're receiving signals that they aren't. And so Helium's kind of run into this proof of location problem because they need a way for the mesh that's already created to verify that people are where they say they are. And they're kind of playing the same game that Pokemon Go is playing, where they're like just kind of playing whack-a-mole instead of getting down to the root of the problem, which is to create a protocol like Foam that actually triangulates location and creates these location proofs and says, this person is where they say they are. So like, I could actually foresee something like Foam being something that Helium used to prove that people are providing Helium coverage where they say they are. These Foam nodes do provide data backhaul just like a Helium node as well. So you can connect to one of these and pay probably Foam tokens once they're running to do LoRa data backhaul. But it's funny how that's like the big value play for Helium, but it's just like an afterthought on the Helium on the Foam nodes. This is just cool, a cool graphic of the way it would look. You got these zone anchors. The zone anchors are these nodes. You can see we got 4 on here. You got potential location customers like buses. You got them requesting presence claims and talking to all the nodes, and the nodes verify it's 12, that they check it in at 12 o'clock and that they're there. It should be said too that once the 4 zone anchors are up and running, it's supposed to be relatively easy for new anchors to come online. So I don't know if they actually would be called anchors if they're additional nodes, but it's easy to add nodes off in the background there or wherever that it meshes outward or is supposed to. And I think that's a lot of why they want to get these beta programs going, is so they can mess around with that. Next generation of PNT tech. I have no idea what PNT is. Does anybody else? Is anybody smarter than I am?
Personal node transport.
I like it. Are you making that up, or are you for real?
Totally making that up.
It sounds good. It sounds good. Low cost, open source hardware, all the things.
Position, navigation, and timing.
There we go.
Ah,
That sounds
position,
smart.
navigational, and timing. I like it. So I guess another thing I didn't mention, Helium, because of this spoofing problem, is not a properly permissionless network. That's something that you don't hear a lot of people talking about. It's permissioned in that if you want to start mining Helium, you have to receive a node from them, and that node comes with a private key that allows you to mine. So that's not permissionless, right? Like if you want to mine permissionless coin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever it is, you don't have to get a key from somebody. Now Helium's worked on, they've got this like a DAO that issues the keys, and they've like tried to make it like these permissionless stuff. It's not properly permissionless, right? Like some group decides who gets the keys to start mining on the Helium network. And that's because of this spoofing problem. They originally actually were kind of working towards moving away from that model, but they have to be able to step in and take away your mining privileges if they think you're spoofing. So they haven't, basically, if anybody could spin up new Helium nodes, the spoofing problem would blow up and go nuts. And so that's why they're keeping them close. And it sounds like, I haven't heard any talk, early on they were talking about moving away from that, setting it up so anybody, and I haven't heard much about that recently. It's like
How
they
do you
forgot
guys-
about it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So in comparison to Helium, how are you guys solving the problem being permissionless? So is the key you guys use rotated or not, or you don't use keys at all?
You don't have to get a key, and the reason is because these things have very precise clocks and they can triangulate your location. And so if you say you're right here, the other nodes in the area can triangulate your position and prove that you are where you say you are. With Helium, they don't have that. They didn't solve that. They just went straight to went straight to market instead of solving the hard software and hardware problem that is required to triangulate position, and then figure that triangulation problem out in a decentralized, trustless manner. It's a very hard problem. It's a really hard problem.
So for the rest of the node, obviously there's some sort of consensus that will reach, say that's actually accurately correct.
Yeah, it's like it'll be like these other 4 nodes triangulated to that other node, this new node's position, and they probably would be doing it on a regular basis, and we can tell that they are where they say they are.
And to avoid civil attack, what do you think the percentage has to be for you guys to have kind of like level of accuracy and security saying yes, we've not been civil attacked because that's true?
Yeah. So there is like an element of trust when you're kicking off the network, because this trust zone has to be like once the network has been built big enough, then it can be properly trustless. But early on, you're kind of trusting that these 4 trust zones are not lying, right?
Yeah.
So it does start out being somewhat of a trusted network, but probably if you look at the size of the Helium network right now, there's no way you would get away with lying if they were actually triangulating position. Now, the problem comes when you start up a new cell in an area where the nodes can't connect with existing nodes. You follow me? It's like you're setting up a cell, and I'm from Sheridan, Wyoming, Podunk town. You set up a Helium node or a phone node there. Like there's no phone nodes for 100 miles. There's no way for them to triangulate your position. So there does almost need to be some sort of a trusted initial setup for these networks before it grows enough that it's like, okay, like the San Diego cell is big enough that these 4 original trusted zone anchors can start misbehaving, and everybody else will kick them off the network. Yeah, and I actually don't know enough about how, I think that's why they're doing the Trusted Zone program, but I don't know all the details on implementation there, to be honest. Yeah. The Trust Zone program, that's what we'll be doing. Nothing new here.
Well, I like that slide.
It was a good one, but it's gone. Like I said, there will be, the first task is just get this zone up and running. And then once we complete that first task, there will be more tasks. They're gonna have missions kind of where you'll test out different stuff. So this first one, the idea is just get the 4 nodes synced up, running stable. There won't even be any devices that can prove their location in the first Trust Zone program. And then they'll move on from there and start shipping out other devices and stuff to actually start doing all the other things. Anything else here? They're collecting data, doing feedback, community.
I don't see how the timing circuits, how the timing standard works for this.
Can you be more specific?
Well, how do you sync all these high accuracy clocks?
You said GPS.
Yeah, so I think they initially start, I think the atomic clock thing, it says atomic clock, they don't have an atomic clock, right? They'll probably have like some connection to the atomic clocks that are available that are broadcasting. So, I'm not here.
Close enough together, any individual nodes that you can make some assumptions on local time?
You're technical enough with that question that I don't know the answer. I can't answer that. You would need to, so tomorrow there is a Truststone operators call, and hopefully tonight I have enough of you interested that you'll be interested in jumping in on that call, and they will have people on there that can speak to that. Yeah. This is the production node they're working on. It's not available yet. That's why we have all this stuff on the table over there, is because they're going into production on all this. Ours won't look that pretty. This is kind of cool, skewed, weird view of Hostel, which is their software for like looking at your zone and checking out your nodes, and they have like a bunch of tests and stuff. They did their first initial test starting in June 2020 in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. You can see all the nodes have two antennas, a receiving and a sending antenna. So you can see that there. The one on the right is like a highly directional antenna, and the one on the left is an omnidirectional antenna. And it looks like maybe they did the same thing here as like, I guess I don't see the second antenna, it must be on the higher thing. A lot of times you end up having to do solar because on these rooftops there's no available power. So there's a good chance we'll need to set up solar setups for these. That's more like what our nodes will look like. We'll have the same size and case, but it won't be translucent like that. This is an early Truststone program in the middle of Missouri. It's on a farm somewhere. And I think that's where this picture comes from as well. This is just, I guess, discussing the foam knowledge base. These are those, and you can see one of these over there. Be careful picking it up. Apparently they've had issues with these, they're like static. They're like, use a static bracelet whenever you touch it. I didn't do that tonight when I got it out of the bag, so hopefully I didn't screw it up. But that's that custom board with the FPGA on it. Oh, and then the swag. Y'all go ahead and help yourselves with shirts and stickers over there. I guess we've got 4 big stickers. Those are supposed to go on the foam nodes, but if you want to take one, I won't be too disappointed. Now we'll talk a little bit about like how we're trying to organize this as kind of a DAO. There's a grant they give out, 150,000 foam tokens. That's worth roughly $4,000 at current prices. It's actually kind of complicated for me because I think if it had just been a fun like hardware project, it's much easier than like you throw in the fact that you're receiving money and then it's like, oh, we want to make sure we got to distribute this money, and just figuring all those details out is a hassle. We got I Speak Nerd, who has built this out, and he's like a DAO expert. He's in ETH SD, and he's probably going to be spearheading a lot of the organization efforts around like figuring out all the DAO side of things on this. But these are basically all the kind of breaking it down into steps about what we see as the different steps to do it, and how we're going to reach that point of finishing at least this first grant, which is just to get the 4 nodes on location and running. Yeah, so 150K foam, $4,500. Equipment cost is roughly $2,000. I've already purchased most of that. Hopefully the DAO decides to reimburse me for it. There will be future missions for like more foam tokens, like basically running tests for the zone. Then, of course, the potential of early network wars. I think we talked about that. So we've already kind of kicked off a lot of the kind of DAO tooling around this. I fronted the foam, and so we've got foam in a Gnosis multi-sig wallet, and we're kind of running the organizations through D-Work. I don't know if you all have seen this. I hadn't heard of D-Work till this week. It is freaking sick. Like, I can't believe I hadn't heard of it. Basically, it's like, I don't know, like traditional software. What would you say, Chad, is closest to this?
Well, they claim it's like a mix between Trello and Fiverr. So it's got
Yeah.
like a Trello board.
It's got big time Trello vibes.
You know,
Yeah.
values, which makes it perfect.
It's all Web3 login. It's got built-in token gating, easy payment to rewards. We're actually going to show you all tonight. If you want to use $5 of foam, you're going to log in with your MetaMask and basically you're going to say GM on one of the tasks, and that's going to get you your $5 in foam for onboarding. And then if you attend the Trust Zone Operator call tomorrow, you get $10 in foam, and then we'll hopefully keep rolling it out and get more organization around it. Very open to any of you all that want to have input on how to structure it, how to organize it. You're spending money in the wrong place here. You need to you're doing it wrong. That's awesome. Come help. We need I kind of had originally thought I was going to do this on my own, and then I realized getting permission for locations is a hard problem. That's why the farm in Missouri is because, yeah.
Sorry, you can finish if you need to.
No, speak up.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. So for the nodes, you said, you have 4 nodes, people just need to trust that this is where it's going to start and that they're in the right location. What do you consider big enough to be trusted? 20 or 25?
Like how big of a mesh, essentially, before. Yeah, I guess there's probably some game mechanics there that I can't give you a number on.
Sure.
I'm not deep enough into the technical side of this. But I guess it'd be if that trust zone started, you'd need probably a majority of the network. They usually say 2/3 of the network needs to be non-nefarious. So maybe that seems to be the typical thing that you see for attacking Ethereum, attacking Bitcoin. So if 4 is the trust zone, then 12 would be, if you had 12 nodes, if 4 of them misbehaved, then the 8 that were not misbehaving would hopefully step in. But then you got to consider too that a lot of times, those other 8 nodes could be run by one entity, yeah, it's a really tough problem.
I mean, does perimeter matter? Say if you got 30 nodes and then 5 of them on this side are bad, then you lost all that land, right? Yeah. So, and I kind of almost would imagine that would cause some sort of a fork. Sure.
A zone fork of some sort, where half of the zone wasn't in agreement with the other zone or something, And then you run into interesting problems too, when the zones collide, how do you get them to start agreement? When San Diego and LA cells come into collision, you gotta merge them, I don't, you're way out of my knowledge zone. I just know the application sounds really cool, and everything I've seen about the technical side is that these guys are doing it right. Yeah,
What's kind of the future vision of home? Like, say it's built out, what do you see it really being?
Yeah, I like that. I see it being like, I have always loved checking in on Yelp. It's kind of dumb, but it's like, actually the reason I like checking in on Yelp is because I don't feel like I'm pouring myself out like I am on other check-in platforms, because none of my friends are seeing my check-in. It's just for me. You know, like I check in on Yelp and I go on the map and I pull it up and I can see all the places that I've been, you know? And it's kind of fun, like, you know, you have a little memory attached to it. I think that's cool. Like, it would be cool to be able to like go back and have a check-in history that belonged to me, and I get to decide who gets to see what parts of that check-in history. And I think that would be super cool.
So going back to that slide thing with all the cityscape with the anchors, you don't have to go to it.
Yeah.
They had a picture of everything checking in, and you can do location checking, you can prove that an accident happened at a certain time, you can prove that you attended a concert, you don't need a ticket. I mean, there's like tons of stuff.
Yeah, I think,
When is this bus, I don't believe that the GPS is tracking correctly, you know, where you
Yeah.
can get it in here, you know.
yeah, it's one of those things that people haven't thought about much because they kind of just have grown so accustomed to this current system being kind of shoddy. And also the part where, like I said, like as soon as those check-ins get valuable enough, everybody starts spoofing them, and then it pushes the value on them back down. So if they can get that nailed, where it's like we know that these check-ins are legit, I think that's super valuable. One of the other things is like package deliveries. Like you can put a little thing in the package and know where the package has been, prove that it was delivered. There's actually a company working on that with Helium right now. There's like, you're seeing it on Helium, some stuff. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with HiveMapper or Dymo. There's kind of an ecosystem with little devices popping up on Helium. And like you get, even though Helium's not great location accuracy, you get mediocre location accuracy. Usually it's not triangulated, it's just like, we know you're within radius of this one tower, which is within a mile or two or something, you know, and that's good enough to kind of get like a cool check-in, you know? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, the thing that I'm interested about with this protocol is I saw a workshop in Denver that they were doing where the IoT devices were signing messages. So the IoT device itself had a private key. You could prove that that device was where it said it was. You could come with things with like, I was thinking of crop insurance, or I don't know, anything where you have a device that's signing and you want to know that that device that's doing the job is supposed to be where it is.
Yeah.
And they can do that with this, where the device itself can send messages, and you know, if that has a private key and you can verify, it's like, well, I know that device has this private key, so it has to be there, or it's not. Like I can prove that it's there, and that stuff seems really cool.
Yeah, like I think they're kicking off smart contracts and stuff from the device, and like doing some really cool stuff. IoT.
Yeah, you can like pay,
stuff.
so you could pay. I guess that's kind of what Helium is doing, but you can rent like. If there's a device doing a task and you want to do it, you can pay the device, and the device collects the money at the device, and it's like the transaction's complete. Like at the device, because you wanted a specific task that this device was doing at a specific location, and like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like where the payment is already collected at the device.
On the device, yeah, super cool. I think one of the really cool applications is games. Obviously the Pokemon Go thing was exciting, but location-based games are really fun. Like actually, it's funny because I think what killed Pokemon Go for me was the spoofing. I was like, okay, I'm an idiot for continuing to play this game against bots. it's like I have two choices here. Either I bot up, and get competitive, or I quit, right? Because like if I'm just playing the human game here, like I'm a loser because I'm up against the ballers, you know. So I think and one of the cool things about Pokemon Go is I think just getting people together. It's like one of the cool, like people had to get together to fight their Pokemons, you know? So like just having physical reality sort of things and the games that you can create where you have to go somewhere to play the game is cool. You know, where you have to like,
So do you think there's any, I'll just take yours, chat about this a little bit. The concern would be privacy. So,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you're trying to give someone that information of real location and proving that it's you. But that's also, if that's being published to a blockchain, and so, and it's, your wallet is tied to your identity, or it's anonymous, whatever, but like, the minute you sign that message, you're proving an exact location where you are.
Yeah.
Like, is there any,
So the big thing there, the big deal there is like, how many private keys do you have, right?
right, yeah,
So,
you can do
so the big deal there is like, and this is kind of a Web3 problem in general. I've got a lot of wallets because of this problem, right? A lot of us have this problem. Like, we're juggling wallets all over the place, you know, like spreadsheets to track them and like a lot of nonsense if you want to have any sort of privacy, you know?
Two things to that, like zero knowledge proofs, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
Just think really common use case to protect your privacy, but also key rotation. So you can if you do this with bit methods, if you're familiar with decentralized identity, so those are two really strong methods to protect your privacy.
well, so the question is like, that's something that problem is.
You can automate a lot of that stuff, like ZKPs and smarts.
Well, the problem with that also, just to throw a wrench in
Yeah,
there,
and-
it's gonna be the cost benefit analysis, right? So you can have zero knowledge, you can say like, when I get a request to identify my location, I want to hide my location. But that is done on chain, so there's fees, right? So what is the alternative for that? So you really have, well, that's exactly where the most efficient one that can do it for free, and that can do zero knowledge is getaway. So whoever can do that, that's gonna be the one that you trust as a node or as a mesh in general. But yeah, zero knowledge is available there, so you don't have to say, you sign, once you sign with private key, you basically can identify your zone, right? But what you can do behavioral, say, well, based on my last location, which is from 2 days ago, I'm still at that location without identifying that location. So you're basically saying, I'm overage to drink, but I'm not gonna tell you I'm 21.
Right.
But yeah, but the problem to do that on chain costs money. To do off chain, you could do it really well, but computation.
Yeah.
So that's gonna want.
Yeah, so in other words, there's potential for it to go in multiple directions.
Yeah,
You have
I
a
guess,
comment?
I guess I was just thinking about like the 99%, right? The users who, have one wallet, right? Not the nerds, right? We're nerds, right? We all have like,
Yeah.
we have like 150 wallets, but like, it's just like, is that dangerous? That's kind of, it's like, I guess we would have to build it to.
So there's something that probably doesn't get discussed much is how much tracking already happens. So if you want to opt out of tracking on the current system, you've got to carry no electronics, because the cell towers are all set up to track you all the time anyway. And I actually kind of think that's why we don't have a consumer grade. I suspect that this could be why we don't have a consumer grade solution to this right now, is because it's paid for by the government. Like, it exists, but the government's the only one that gets to use it. Like, they're tracking stuff all the time, and there just hasn't been a good enough incentive for it to exist consumer grade yet. So I guess, like, good chance that things get designed poorly enough that you're getting tracked, but it's like, you're walking around with a SIM card in your pocket all the time, right?
So it's just not exposed to everyone. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people walk.
Owners who like,
Right,
see
like,
that
yeah.
one thing in their NFT and they just rip it
Well,
off.
they're at the store,
Yeah.
and like, it's not.
Yeah, and it's not as tightly tied to your identity, depending on how well your wallet hygiene is set up, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like, it's surprising to me that we don't actually have better wallet solutions yet on like MetaMask, where we're like, it's just a headache trying to have a lot of addresses in MetaMask, and it doesn't need to be. Like they could make it better, I think, but it's just a matter of time, I think, before we have better solutions for that. We'll see. But let's get back to this right here, unless somebody else has another thing on that topic.
Yeah, just to add to it, I was curious, am I going to be sending like initiating a proof from my phone, or is it always proving like every minute?
No, it's initiated from your end.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna be just tracking me all the time?
No.
Right.
No. Yeah, and that's part of that low power part that that I was mentioning is like, that's what's one of the cool things about it, is you can have a much lower power, cheaper device doing this, because it doesn't require as much
Constant.
computation and stuff as a GPS, and the constant back and forth, yeah. So it's presumably as private as you want it to be, as long as everything's architected right.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so do you think, Chad, we're ready to kind of get everybody move in this direction, or do you want to talk more about kind of how
Yeah, I think, let's get everybody into D-Work. And
Yeah.
like debug if anyone has issues with D-Work.
Yeah.
Get everybody their phone tokens, then talk about like what the next first step is to
Cool.
get this thing up and running.
Yeah, so let's pull that up. You got, right here, what we got is a QR code for, I guess it's gonna be hard not to get both QR codes, but,
You might want to do this on your laptop if you guys have it, because you want to connect to Discord. I don't know how mobile friendly it is, but first link is to get into the ETH SD D-Work, and then once you're connected, the second link is the actual task that you can complete, and then we'll send you $5 in phone tokens. And so if you guys have issues, just holler. We'll be around. If someone can do it from their phone, that'd be cool.
and I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna pull up D-Work here and kind of show you all. And you can see we've already created a task for the call tomorrow. And then, like, we should talk about, like, when the next time we kind of want to get together to just talk about when to build those. Hopefully we can get together to chat about, I think I was diving in earlier, like, one of the really difficult parts on this is like finding location, scouting, finding, and negotiating locations, you know? We were kind of thinking UCSD would be a really good spot for it, as long as the university was amicable. Just because, like, if we made any sort of agreement with them, then we'd have, like, probably be able to use multiple rooftops and get it all done in one spot.
Conversation you want to.
Oh, you need that?
They just did issues prior, so whatever we can use.
No worries.
Just work the same like that, or.
I mean, what happened? It's in the middle on
Does anyone have any issues with D-Work?
Do you recommend using Discord to sign in?
Yeah, that way you can make your Discord.
Where you got some wrong location.
You might just do I'm not sure if you could like.
I just took
Okay, right.
Saying nothing.
That's the last slide, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, no, you can go ahead and get started. This will take you there directly, that second URL code, but I think it looks like maybe you can get there just by logging in. And then all you have to do is do a GM under there. You comment GM and that's how you prove your attendance. Does everybody have the URL?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up work here. network's just super cool the way it's set up. Like you can do token gated tasks, you can do token gated community stuff, like paying these phone tokens out. It's like automatically set up to send out $5 in phone right there. Like it's just like DAO in a box kind of. Super nice to set it up. Like here, you could add a bounty right there. Add skills require permissions.
We got those 30 minutes. We're gonna transfer the transactions, so after the meetup, we'll send them all on transactions.
Yeah, and we can do a second one tomorrow if some of y'all are on phones and you go home
It's just
tonight
for,
and
like,
get your
just for
MetaMask
show
connected
kind
or whatever.
so the next time we will be building a lot of hardware like that, but
two different
it's
batches
really
for
on, and we're not really anything for, so he was just kind of like describing.
You need to go home and do it, we're definitely down to do that.
So we'll just approve on transactions for that submission and we have
Yeah, for sure.
no worries, yeah. I always forget, like, there's usually like a laptop number, you're trying to get people.
How many of y'all feel like you're actually interested in doing more stuff with this, like building stuff, putting them on location, nerd things, you know?
We got like 5.
Yeah.
It starts.
Awesome. I think it's gonna be fun.
Show off the hardware.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
get the people excited.
I mean, it's all over here. You can see kind of some of the stuff. Here's that hat. Got the hat. It's actually really pretty. That no blade. All the
Could be a hardware salesman, Barry.
Who's not excited about that?
All right, everyone, tune in. That is the end of our presentation, but definitely stay updated with ETH SD as we lead more foam meetups. We want the software devs, we want the hardware devs, we want people that are interested in building this proof of network and these trust zones for our city. So we're tuning off for tonight, but thanks everyone for joining in.
So those of you that are interested